My name is Bob Roebuck. I served as a Apache pilot, joined the Army to go to flight school. I flew Hueys in flight school and then got accepted to fly Apaches. I spent 24 years all over the world. So I went from Korea to Germany, multiple tours in Iraq and Afghanistan. Made it to Chief Warrant Officer 5. Had some pretty interesting jobs. Also had some pretty interesting deployments. For 7 years, I was an accident investigator. For the last 2.5 years to 3 years in the Army, I ran the operations division at the U.S. Army Safety Center. So I saw all the losses. So every Army loss that we had, active duty or National Guard, came across my desk in the morning. 2016, February 2016, I retired after about 24 years.
What was that transition like?
Transition was at first not bad. Probably 4 months after, before I retired, I should say, there were some feelings of loss that I was basically going to lose my family that I had in the Army, that I'd have to start all over again. I left the Army and was kind of sad, you know, that I left the Army. I was on leave. Luckily, I started school. I went to college right afterwards to get a degree in gunsmithing. And everything was fine. The wife stayed back here in Orlando while I went to Denver. And the first month and a half, 2 months, I had a couple of issues with panic attacks.
Yeah.
I didn't know what they were. I know I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't think straight. Shortness of breath. And I finally talked to my mom, and she said, "Son, you're having a panic attack."
Yeah.
So it actually happened for a couple of 3 weeks. I found out what it was. I read about it, and I shouldn't say help myself, but talking to my mom and talking to other people kind of helped me out.
Yeah.
To understand what was happening and how to avoid situations like that. So, and then again, finished school and then came home. And then basically into a divorce. So nothing funny about a divorce, but went through a divorce. Finally got divorced in November of 2017. And again, it is what it is.
So another transition.
Another transition, major transition in my life. For the fact that the reason I got out was to be with her.
Yeah.
I could have spent another 7 years in the Army, but I decided to get out so we could spend time together. So during my whole marriage, we were married for about 8 years. We only lived together for 1 year.
Wow.
So I made a conscious decision to be, well, I stayed close to home, so at least a 6 hour drive from home at any one time, except when I was deployed. But to stay in the Southeast so I can drive home once a month or so. But I made that conscious decision to get out of the Army early, to spend time with her, and of course, you know, she filed for divorce. So it is a transition. You know, it's still transitioning, but you know, I read a lot, and I have friends that I can always talk to.
So you have a support system.
I do have a support system. Again, from anywhere from a friend of mine who I used to serve with, to people who've never been in the military, to my parents, to my son who's actually in the Army now. So it's a huge support system. I was pretty much lost this time last year.
Yeah.
Everything was up in the air. I didn't know what I was going to do because I lost my shop. I lost my business since I moved out of the house. My shop was detached. It had a detached workshop. And basically lost everything. So basically went down to my dad's in the Virgin Islands, spent about a month and a half deciding what's going to happen with the rest of my life. And, but again, talking, understanding what you're going through. That's the first thing you have to do, is understanding what you're going through. And working your way out of it. You know, is actually having the tools, like we said.
Yes.
Having the keys to actually put in that ignition to actually continue to drive on, instead of not having the keys and saying, you know what, screw it, I'm gonna walk or do whatever.
Yeah.
Is actually having those keys that you need to actually progress it to continue in your life. Because I was 46 years old, I shouldn't say, how would I say this? Of continuing to live my life. And, good things happen. Good things doesn't always happen, but they happen. And God has a plan for us. Whatever that plan is, you need to continue on that plan. But again, having those keys to continue that drive and to continue,
But there's a passage in the Bible, and it talks about, "For I know the plans I have for you, plans to make you prosper and not harm you."
Yes.
And I don't know about you, but I take offense when I hear somebody say, "God only gives you what you can handle." And I'm like, would you pray to God if you thought he was doing stuff to you? No, he gives you what you need to handle it.
Yeah, exactly. And this is tools. And sometimes you just have to sit down and think about your life, and think about, there's going to be good times again.
Yeah.
I'm not saying things are great and every day I wake up happy, but not every day I wake up sad either.
Right.
Again, I'm here at Spike, I work here at Spike's Tactical, and that's a huge, huge support system that I have every day. And continue to be productive.
Right.
I have to be productive. I mean, I don't have to work. I work because I'm being productive. I'm being a productive part of society. So, but again, for me, it's having those tools.
Right.
And again, I equate those tools to keys.
Yes.
Of actually getting in that vehicle, and because there's a lot of people who don't have the keys or have the tools, but they need to go out and look for those tools or look for those keys. And I use the term tools and keys with each other because they're about the same. Because you're not going anywhere if you don't have the keys.
Right.
You're not driving anywhere. But if you do have the keys, you can continue your journey. So I use those tools if I'm in a bad mood. I reflect of the good things that's happened in my life, not necessarily the bad things that are happening in my life.
So you change your focus.
I do. You have to change your focus. If you stay in that negative attitude, if you stay with that negative attitude and, God's against me or everybody's against me, then you go down a bad path.
Yes.
Again, you're not looking for the keys. You're looking for somebody to blame that you can't find the keys. So you have to go out and, pull yourself up by the bootstraps. And continue on. I mean, some of the loneliest times I had was on deployment sometimes. This one place I was stationed is a place in Talifar that you were lonely. I mean, you didn't necessarily have a lot of people around you. But with reading and doing a few other things and, going back in your life and thinking the good thoughts of when you're coming home, different things like that, it helps you out.
Right.
So, little things help. And it's not one big change that you're going to make in your life that's going to help you. It's a multitude of changes that helps you throughout your life. Just because you have a new car. New cars doesn't really mean anything because you're going to get bored and tired of that car anyway. It's the small little changes like going to the gym, eating right, doing other things, doing things for yourself, doing things for other people that makes you happy.
Yeah.
So, But I see a lot of soldiers going down a bad path when they get out or even in the military.
What advice do you have for ones that are getting out recently?
And I'll tell you, seek a support system because you have friends in the military that help you out on a normal basis. Don't be proud and don't be manly. I mean, I probably had one of the most manliest jobs other than Special Forces, flying attack helicopters.
Yeah.
But I can't support myself sometimes as far as emotionally or, with things that I need. You have to ask for help. And I would say get a support system before you even get out.
That's the thing that really gets me is that you guys seem to understand when you're in combat and you're deployed, you count on each other and you constantly ask for help when you need it. And if you don't have enough help right there, then you call in air support. You get in whatever you can.
Yep.
But when you need help for yourself out of combat, You don't want to ask for it.
We don't
These
ask.
guys,
Yeah.
you guys would have died for each other,
Yeah.
but you can't bother each other?
Yes.
I don't get that.
And that's what a lot of people fail to realize.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not a manly thing. I'm going to be manly, so I'm not going to look for support because I can handle it myself. A lot of times you can't. You think you can handle it yourself, but you get into a bad place and you're not going to be able to handle it.
But you don't have that manly attitude in combat where it's like, give me all the help I can get. And then out of combat, when it's you that needs the help.
Yes, you don't
want to
ask for it. Yes, and you know, even I'm talking to your chaplain. Depends on the chaplain. And during my first combat deployment, I really didn't have a great chaplain support.
Mm-hmm.
The chaplain was all right, but it was such a big unit that you didn't really. I didn't really talk to him. One of my deployments, OEF 910. OEF in Afghanistan. We had a chaplain who was basically born in the streets. The guy was a Shylock. He would collect money from people.
Yeah.
And he worked for a loan shark.
Oh, gee.
And that's what he did. He carried a chain. He was from Louisiana. He kept a chain. His name was Chaplain Arthurs. But the way he talked to you kind of helped you that he's a normal person, and then you could talk to him. So, you know, there's things that I talked to him about, and there's other people I talked about as well. But again, there's so much help out there now. There's so much help that there's so many numbers. They pile the numbers on of people that you can call. And I think that's helpful. So even if you have no one, and you can't talk to your parents, or you can't talk to, you know, there's always numbers there you can call. I mean, everybody has a cell phone. I mean, this little thing is awesome. I mean, there's so many people that you can reach out to the world on this thing, and people don't reach out to the world. And then what happens? They start feeling sorry for themselves. Again, they get lost. The keys get lost, and the keys get lost. The tools get lost, and now they're just kind of wandering around in the dark.
And most of the time, they left the keys in the ignition, and that's why they can't find them.
Exactly. So it's there. I mean, you just have to ask for help sometimes. Hey, I need help with the keys, or I need, you know, whatever.
Right.
And you definitely need to go out and find help. But again, let's go back to that. What you told me is that you need to have a support system. Especially for as long as I've been in the Army. And I can't change right away, even though I'd like to change right away back into civilian life. I still, every day for me is like the military. Even though I'm not in the military, I've done it for 24 years, and you know, and so that's how I live my life.
But you do know you can never be a civilian again, right?
Exactly. I mean, and we talked about this earlier, sometimes even the one time, or the first term soldier who spent only 3 years in the Army, a lot of times he will use that military experience for his whole life. Some people will get out, and within a month, depends on how quickly they adapt, and depends on how they adapt, they will totally forget about the Army, and they'll go back to their old ways. But I've spent more than half of my life, even right now, I've been out for about 2 years. That's how I live my life. I mean, I am a structured person, and I have to have structure in my life. So it's kind of hard. It is kind of hard for me to change. But I do have to change in some ways. In some ways, I'm happy that happened. You know. But again, I know where to find help. And I'll tell every soldier who's thinking about getting out is please seek help. I mean, we talk about the Army of One, which was, I think, the stupidest idea that has ever come out of the military. Or Be All You Can Be. I remember Be All You Can Be when I was a kid, and then they came out with the Army of One, and I said, how stupid is that? You can't be an Army of One. I mean, you have to have a support system. I mean, if you think you can go out and go into combat by yourself, you're sadly mistaken. You need all the support people there as well. You know, again, just like we said about, you need the gas, you need tires, you need the seats,
spark plug, you need the whole bit.
You need the whole thing. And all those people basically make up that whole car that you go driving down the road in.
There was an argument I got into years ago. And what I did was I took, Iwo Jima with the Marines and the flag and everything.
Yeah.
I erased all the other Marines except one. I said, doesn't that look stupid?
Yep.
He didn't do it by himself.
Yes. Yep.
And he got the point.
And that is true. But again, it's always helpful. I mean, we talked last week, and you helped me out a lot by listening. You see what I'm saying? Sometimes you just need to release. Sometimes you just need somebody to talk to.
Everybody needs that.
Exactly. And if you don't have anybody to talk to, there is so many resources out. The military spends millions of dollars on resources just for somebody that you can talk to for 24 hours. Just for 20, they're on the line for 24 hours. So no matter what time you call that soldier's hotline, there's always somebody there to talk to you. Again, to listen to you and listen to the stuff that you're going through. And PTSD is a serious thing. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's people who abuse the system as far as PTSD. Yeah. But then there's the soldiers who actually need it and need help because of the stuff that has happened in their life.
A lot of these guys, they don't understand that. Yes, they will have PTSD for the rest of their lives because there is no cure. But they're not stuck where they are. They can get better.
Oh yes, exactly.
Life can be a whole lot better.
Oh yes.
Than what it is.
It definitely can be. Even though you do have PTSD and you see no light at the end of the tunnel, I promise you, there is nothing as bad. There's nothing that bad that you cannot overcome.
Right.
Again, I've seen it over and over again where somebody's lost their whole family, and then 4 years later, I see them. They've lost their whole family. I mean, and 4 years later, they come back and they're doing well again. But you have to pick yourself up by the bootstraps. You cannot do it alone. There is no way that you can do that alone. It is just, you have to fix yourself, and I shouldn't say that. There's probably 0.1% of people who can actually fix themselves. But unless you have a relationship with God and have a relationship with other people, you're going to go down a deep, dark hole that
and become your own worst enemy.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And that's when self-pity, hatred, alcohol, all these things put you down a really, 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 really deep hole. Yeah. And you see no way out. And I hate to say this, you see yourself sleeping underneath the overpass because you tend to lose everything, because you wallow in self-pity and you see nothing else, and all you see is a deep dark hole. I promise you there's light at the end of that tunnel. I mean, again, my mom helped me out when I started going through my panic attacks. I mean, I had to stand up and walk and breathe deeply because it took over me. It took me over, and I didn't know what was going on. I could not understand it. It was something like I couldn't control, shortness of breath, and you're antsy, and you can't think, and you have to get up and you have to walk, and you're like, what the heck?
And then you get afraid, and then it makes it even worse because you're getting afraid.
Exactly. And you're like, what is going to happen to me if this continues? So you go out for a drive just to take your mind off of something, but and then people get into that, but they have to understand what's going on, and they have to read about it or have somebody to help them understand what they're going through and what the countermeasures are to help you out with that as well. Because I mean, I thought I could handle everything. I mean, and again, I had a support system at that point. Who's my ex-wife now? She was in Europe, and I couldn't really get a hold of her. My son, another person I talked to, an older son, he was in basic training, and these are people that you sometimes let stuff out to. And she wasn't there, and my mom was there, but it helped me out. Again, that's a huge, major change of leaving a job that you had for 24 years in a different state, in doing totally different things that I wasn't accustomed to. And again, support system. So again, I jump back to my support system and I start asking other soldiers who I went to school with, hey, have this ever happened to you? And a lot of them said yes.
Yeah.
You know, it's happened to me.
And if you didn't ask, you wouldn't know.
Exactly. And I was like, hey, has this ever happened to you? He's like, and you know, probably 70% of the people I talked to said yes, it happened to them as well.
And they're probably glad you asked.
Yeah. Again, it's never happened to me, so I didn't know. So if you're going down that, and again, combat's combat, and being an Apache pilot, you had to do things that, you know, that you had to do. And again, it is what it is. I have to deal with that, and I deal with that. You know, I have countermeasures to deal with that as well. So, again, seek help, seek a support system, because it's super important. Even if you're feeling good and you're doing good, still have that support system and still talk to people of the things that's going on in your life, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. Because you could be having the best day, and then all of a sudden you feel like, you know, not feeling very good, but that support system is always there. So never lose that support system, even if you're feeling good. Always have that support system, and always have those people that you can count on. Even if you don't know the person. I didn't know you from Adam. And the first time we talked for an hour and 20-something minutes. You know what I'm saying? It's
hour 45. And who's counting?
Hour 45. But again, I told you the stuff that was happening in my life at that immediate time, and you listened, and it made me feel better. It made me think about what was going on and kind of how to deal with that. You know, because so for every problem, there's 5 solutions. You have to find which solution works for you as well.
Same thing with any kind of healing. It's like if you guys go for, you know, where you're taking care of your body, so you go to martial arts, and martial arts isn't working, so you try different things until you find what works for you, because it might not work for you. You know, it might work for your buddy, but not you. Same thing with, you know, therapy. Whatever you do, just keep looking until you find that fit.
Yep, mine is growing the beard. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But again, sometimes that's what you need. Is just you need somebody to listen to you and hopefully give you good advice. Because you know, everybody has an opinion. Whether that opinion is good or not, that's what you have to be smart enough to take the good. You have to take a good advice and have to know when there's bad advice, and it's kind of hard to know that.
Well, it's always the same story. Is that when you're in a conversation or you're doing something, if you feel worse when you leave, don't go back. You feel worse after you talk to somebody? Don't talk to them.
Exactly.
Don't surround yourself with negativity.
Yes. But, you know, sometimes, you know, I would not say just don't do it once. Do it twice. You know, because if you don't like it the first time, go back a second time. Just go back a second time and just see what happens. You know, sometimes you just have to say no thank you in the first one, but you know, try a second time and see if that helps you. If it doesn't help you the second time, then you know you probably want to seek other assistance.
Try something else.
Try something else. Exactly. So, you know, but again.
So basically, take the keys.
Yes. Find the keys. First of all, you have to find the keys.